Hello and welcome to Indian Standard Time. I'm Siddharth Varadarajan, and joining me today for this interview is Walid Muallem, Foreign Minister of Syria. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sometime later this month, the Geneva peace process or peace conference aimed at bringing about a negotiated settlement to the conflict in Syria will be convened. Last month, in December 2015, the UN Security Council passed Resolution 2254, essentially urging the Syrian government and the opposition to get together, meet across the table, and work out the details of a ceasefire and a peaceful settlement. As the date approaches for the Geneva process to begin, what are the conditions that the Syrian government has? What are the proposals that you will make to ensure that this process gets underway in a successful manner?
The Syrian government has no conditions to attend this meeting in Geneva. We are cooperating with the envoy of the United Nations. Recently he visited Damascus, and I assured him that Syria will attend this meeting without precondition and without foreign interference. It is a Syrian dialogue to decide the future of Syria.
The resolution envisages that military action against terrorist groups will carry on, even if there is a ceasefire or even if the peace process gets underway, and that the dialogue will be between the government and the opposition. What is the method of distinguishing between, quote unquote, the opposition and terrorist groups, given that on the ground there is so much mixing of all kinds of forces? How do you propose to separate out these two groups for the purposes of the dialogue?
First of all, the countries who met at Vienna, they asked Jordan to present a list of the terrorist group. Jordan presented a list of 160 terrorist groups in Syria. And because each country has its own agenda, they did not approve this list. And until today, we don't have a list of terrorist organizations. On the Syrian point of view, each individual or group attack the Syrian army or villages or the Syrian civilians are terrorists. We never differ between moderate terrorists and not moderate terrorists, because we were the victim of all terrorists.
So from your point of view, any armed opposition would be considered terrorists, and they would have no place in the dialogue process?
Without doubt.
Isn't this an obstacle if the idea is to have a ceasefire?
If the idea
if one side of the fighting are to be considered terrorists,
we can have two tracks: one for ceasefire or ending the clashes. Ending the clashes means that the government and this armed group has to reach reconciliation, has to hand over their arms and to settle the situation. And if some of them wants to fight against the terrorists, this means Daesh and al-Nusra, he is welcome. Now, this armed group, this is their field. The political settlement has to be with the political opposition. Opposition which believe that Syria must be united, sovereign, independent, free of terrorists.
So political personalities or political groups that have links with some of the armed opposition groups in the field, would they be part of this process, or would they be excluded by it?
If they disengage themselves with this terrorist group, yes, they can be part of this dialogue.
Right. But in your answer to me, you are already making a distinction between Daesh and al-Nusra on the one hand, and some of the other groups.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Because they all on the field, they are together, they're fighting the army together, and they make one block together.
So if some of these other groups want to disengage and have a ceasefire agreement with the Syrian government and join your fight against Daesh and al-Nusra, then that would be an acceptable
Yes,
process in your
without
view.
doubt.
Right. How much? I mean, it seems to me that the Geneva process, under these, in this framework, does not have any greater chance of success this time around than earlier attempts to reach a negotiated settlement. Are you optimistic that this process now has a better chance of working than in the past?
Well, it depends. If the foreign countries decide not to interfere, and here I refer specifically to the United States, to Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. If they decide to leave the Syrians to solve their issues, yes, I can be optimistic. If they interfere, we will repeat the same mistakes of Geneva II.
And based on your assessment as Foreign Minister of Syria, do you believe that Washington and Qatar and Ankara and Riyadh are ready to make that shift, or
No.
is it all the same?
No, all the same.
So far, so in other words, there is no change in policy from these four powers.
Unfortunately, no. At least if they respect the Syrian people wishes, they must implement Security Council resolution to counter terrorism. There are 4 important resolutions of the Security Council under Chapter 7. Each country is obliged to fulfill them. I assure you, if they are committed to fulfill these resolutions, 70% of our crisis will be ended.
Right, right. One of the significant developments last year, from the military as well as the geopolitical perspective, was the entry of the Russian Federation as a military ally. I mean, they were always a political ally of Syria and the Syrian government, but the entry of the Russian Federation as a military factor. To your mind, what has been the impact of this in the military field so far? We've read mixed reports. The US government, for example, says that most of the Russian Federation's airstrikes have not been directed at Daesh but at other groups. What is your assessment of Russia's contribution to your fight so far?
First of all, we are grateful to Russia for their interference through air raids with cooperation with the Syrian armed forces and the Syrian ground troops. Since 30 of September last year until today, their interference has positive influence on our fight against terrorism. What the United States is saying is something not real. Today, in the speech of President Obama to the State of Union, he referred to 10,000 air raid United States and its coalition did in Syria and in Iraq. What they achieve? Daesh is getting larger, bigger, and they achieve nothing. Why? Because through air raid alone, you cannot achieve the military goals. Unlike Russia, in 3 months, the Russian Air Force, alongside with the Syrian ground troops, achieved 10 times more than what the United States achieved. And it is not correct. United States used to see the oil convoy going from the oil field in Syria and Iraq to Turkey.
Right.
And they never bombarded them.
This is oil being extracted by Daesh and being sold by them.
Yes.
To raise money for to finance their efforts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Within 18 months, they never
Attack those
destroy
convoys.
or attack any convoy. Unlike Russia, 40% of Daesh capability to export the stolen oil were destroyed. So Russia is doing a great job in Syria against terrorism. Iran also is doing its part, and our army is doing also its part.
The shooting down by the Turks of a Russian plane in the border region was a cause for great concern. Fortunately, the situation did not escalate. The Russian side protested. Your government also protested, but the matter has not led to, shall we say, any military confrontation between Russia and Turkey. But what is your sense of if the Russian airstrikes continue? Isn't there a danger that there might be a repeat of this kinds of incident and hence the possibility of a wider conflict involving Turkey?
First of all, when the Turks shot down the Russian airplane, they shot it down this plane over the Syrian territory.
You are clear on this point because the Turks strongly dispute that.
They are wrong. This means they violated our sovereignty. Second, this airplane used to fight against terrorists. So by shooting down this airplane, this means they are sympathize with the terrorists. Thirdly, I don't think, believe me, that Turks lost its mind to shoot another Russian airplane.
You think they have learned a lesson from the way in which Russia reacted this time?
If they have a peace of mind, yes.
But let me ask you about the role of Turkey itself, because we have heard from the Syrian government and from Russia the accusation that the Turkish government is helping either directly or indirectly Daesh.
No, directly.
Directly, okay. The oil tankers, as we know, have been crossing into Turkey and are sold with the obvious knowledge and complicity of the Turkish government. And yet, in the recent bomb blast in Istanbul and also in Ankara, it seems as if Daesh is also targeting ordinary Turks, targeting the Turkish government. So what's happening? Why is an organization which receives the support of the Ankara government, why is it also doing explosions inside Turkey?
Well, first of all, it is simply anybody or a group stand against the Syrian regime, Turkey will support. Whether ISIS, whether Jabhat al-Nusra, Jund al-Sham, Jaish al-Islam, all these terrorist organizations were supported by Turkey. Second, Turkey claims that they joined the American coalition, but they joined this coalition to bombard the Kurds, not ISIS. They have no air raid against ISIS. Thirdly, Turkey is interfering directly. They are not buying the stolen oil, the wheat, the cotton. Before, the factories in Aleppo were sent to Turkey. So they are participating in destruction of the infrastructure in Syria. They are not giving money to Daesh. They are giving arms to Daesh. They are giving medical facilities to Daesh and Jabhat al-Nusra. So Turkey is clearly interfering to support this terrorist group.
Right. That part is clear. But why is this group then also organizing bomb blasts in
Because it is natural. We used to say terrorist has no border. Terrorists are attacking and aiming any country in the world. For that, they did yesterday these bombs to warn Turkey not to send its troop to Iraq.
Okay. So in a way, it's a warning to Turkey not
A
to change its
warning
policy.
to Turkey
Right.
to continue their support to them.
Right.
In fact, they are inside Turkey.
Right.
And look, sir, from our experience, terrorists always return back to their main supporters because they have their own agenda.
Blowback, they call it in English.
Yes.
The French underwent somewhat of a change of policy after the Bataclan terrorist strike in Paris. They have also now said they are attacking, using their air force against Daesh. What is your assessment of the French policy towards Daesh and in the Syrian conflict? Are they a major player? And
unfortunately, France is a major player in supporting terrorism since the beginning of Syrian crisis. Why? Because the Gulf investment in France. So I don't believe anything France is saying against ISIS or Jabhat al-Nusra. The contrary, they were part of their support. For that, the same as Turkey, they start to pay the price.
But the airstrikes that France has organized recently, who have they targeted?
I don't know.
Inside Syria, they say that they've targeted Daesh. What's your information on this?
I don't know. I don't feel that they're targeting anything.
So it's more public posturing?
Yes.
Turning to the wider region, Mr. Foreign Minister, the recent execution of Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr in Saudi Arabia has led to a sharp escalation of a sharp difference of contradiction between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's led to, in a way, other countries also like Sudan, Kuwait taking a strong stand against Iran.
You've forgotten Somalia and Djibouti.
Right, right. But what is your sense of how the sharpening contradiction between Iran and Saudi Arabia is complicating the regional situation, and in particular, what would its impact be on the Syrian front line?
It is negative impact. First of all, because there are difference of approach. Iran is combating terrorism, helping Syria in combating terrorism. The Saudis are helping the terrorists to destroy Syria, to destroy the Syrian people. Why? Based on sectarian view between Sunni and Shia. We never felt that Iran is imposing this type of policies. The contrary. For that, it has negative impact on Syria. The Saudis, we expect, they will increase their financial support to the terrorist group. They will increase their pressure on the opposition delegation coming from Riyadh to Geneva, not to put the preconditions. And I've been asked about their preconditions, this opposition. I said, I hope they will keep attached to these conditions.
What are the preconditions that they have?
All 7 preconditions. This 7 preconditions, if they stick on it, they will have no place in Geneva.
Right. So you think the Saudis do not want?
Sorry.
The Saudis do not want a negotiated settlement to this conflict under any circumstances.
The contrary, they want escalation.
Right. Right. And the issue of the form that a peace settlement or a peace agreement may take, there are different views that people have expressed. Even your ally, your military ally, Russia, the recent interview of President Vladimir Putin to Bild, where he's spoken of the need for Syria to draft a new constitution, perhaps even go for early presidential and parliamentary elections. What is the government's stand in Damascus towards some of these suggestions?
We and Russia are at the same line. We believe on the right of the Syrian people to decide their future. And we do not accept anybody, any country, to attack this right or to neglect this right. We are very much stick with this right, Russia also. Second, up to the Syrian people to decide the future. We believe, as Russia believes, that the dialogue has to reach agreement on national unity government where the opposition can be part of it. This government can have a special committee to put a new constitution. The new constitution will be put for referendum. The Syrian people will decide. And after that, we will hold a parliamentary election to compose a new government according to the result of the election. And about the early election of the president, this the people of Syria can decide.
Right. So the starting point has to be an agreement between the opposition and the government on the contours of a new constitution.
Yes.
Right. And then following that, elections can follow. But of course, as you said, if the majority of those opposed to the Syrian government, because they are engaging in a military fight against you, are considered terrorists, and there will be no dialogue and there will be no agreement. Right.
They must disengage themselves as politicians for the political solution, as terrorists for the military solution, which can be through fighting or through reconciliation.
We know that groups like Daesh or Jabhat al-Nusra have been using all kinds of despicable means to fight the Syrian government, targeting civilians. But the Syrian government has also been accused of the indiscriminate use of force, which has led to the loss of civilian life. What assurances can you and your government give that if the war carries on, you will fully respect international humanitarian law?
Without doubt, we respect our people. We depend on our people to support the army, and I tell you frankly, this all of it, it's a European American allegation. It's baseless. Nobody do care about the Syrian people as the Syrian leadership and government.
Right. But the conflict itself has led to the exodus of more than 1 million, 2 million, 3 million Syrian people to Europe, which is a great tragedy for your country.
Yes, it is a great loss for our future. We hope to bring them back, but we need to achieve security and stability in the country. They will come back.
Mr. Foreign Minister, you have spent some time in Delhi now. You met with the Indian Foreign Minister, Madam Sushma Swaraj, and the National Security Advisor, Mr. Ajit Doval. What would you like India to do to contribute towards peace in the Syrian conflict?
First of all, I held very constructive and fruitful talks, both with the National Security Director and with the Foreign Minister. I am satisfied of the result. We wish to see India playing constructive role based on its a huge achievement in economy and social affairs. We want to see India important player in solving our crisis, because India deserves this. And I believe that Syria and India are fighting the same enemy, the terrorist. So we need to cooperate. And we offer that we are ready to cooperate in security field, also in economic field.
Provided there is peace in the country which can allow the old levels of economic cooperation to resume.
I think if India intends to play a role in the economic field, they must start now, not tomorrow. Why? Because many countries are interested.
Right. On that note, Mr. Foreign Minister, we are out of time, but thank you very much for joining us on Rajya Sabha TV.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That wraps up this episode. Do join us again for another guest next week. Thank you for watching.